Elon Musk is not the richest man in the world. So, who do you think is? Billionaire CEOs at the top of the Forbes list? See, the truth about the ultra-wealthy goes a lot deeper. Certain individuals manage their wealth outside the public eye. They've secretly amassed untold fortunes over the decades and hardly have any of it in their own names. At Unmasked Billionaire, we will be taking the masks off the ones who control the world and have access to trillions of dollars. Welcome through the secret doors of riches. Have you ever wondered about the mysterious forces that have been silently shaping Europe for generations? Well, it turns out that there is a secret family that has been at the helm of Sweden's banking, manufacturing, and telecommunication industries. So, let me introduce you to the innocuous family that probably owns more than a third of Europe. The Wallenberg family. For generations, they slowly twisted the banking system in Sweden to acquire some of the world's most valuable companies. The Wallenberg family became wealthy through banking, but how they achieved this success is unbelievable. Here is how they managed to pull this off. The idea of banks giving out loans to companies or helping the masses save their wages was completely foreign to Sweden back in the 1830s. But all that changed when one of Sweden's greatest opportunists returned home from military service. Say hello to André Oscar Wallenberg, Europe's greatest banker. During his time as naval officer, Oscar got to see how influential the banking system was becoming in places like North America. He had a front row seat to the Panic of 1837 and gained a first-hand understanding of how much power banks hold over the average worker. So, as soon as he got back to Sweden, he established his own banking empire that covers most of Europe. As time went on, the Wallenbergs acquired numerous companies in almost every industry. Almost 50% of Sweden's workforce was employed by a Wallenberg-owned company. Within just a few generations, one family had been able to subjugate an entire nation, and they didn't even have to do it with their own money. They built connections in every facet of Swedish society. They had unparalleled influence in politics, manufacturing, and even the military. War profiteering through military contracts with both sides of World War II was just another day at work for the Wallenbergs. If you were going to do business in Sweden, you have to go through the Wallenbergs. Today, they own more than 30% of Sweden's stock exchange, and the estimated value of their assets is over $300 billion. The family's investments and holding employ over 1 million people and bring in tens of billions of dollars in sales every year. They control some of the world's oldest and largest multinational corporations like Stora Enso, AstraZeneca, and Electrolux, one of the world's largest appliance manufacturers. These people own companies you've never heard of, but still shape your everyday life. This family molds Sweden from the shadows and keeps the public blissfully unaware of their existence. So, who is the richest person from the family, who controls assets and has access to hundreds of billions of dollars? No one member sticks out as a figurehead, so it's hard to say who's truly calling the shots. Various members of the Wallenberg family manage foundations that control portions of the family's wealth. This enables them to conceal their fortune and spread their influence easily. However, there's one individual at the helm that could single-handedly control $150 billion. The Wallenbergs are masters at controlling society from behind the scenes and staying silent about their wealth. Taking over the world is easy, and you just need one certain thing. Do you know what it is? Oil. Lots of it. Every government on the face of the earth needs it to fertilize crops, build infrastructure, and fuel machines. In 1937, the United States and Saudi Arabia just made the most lucrative alliance in modern history. In exchange for military arms, protection, and training, Saudi Arabia agreed to sell oil in US dollars. Saudi Arabia got protection from its neighbors that might want to steal their oil, and the US had the oil it needed to take over the global economy. Both sides got what they wanted. And just like that, the petrodollar was born. Saudi Arabia used its newfound wealth and protection to rapidly grow its economy, which also massively benefited the ruling class. As of 2023, the House of Saud is allegedly worth $1.4 trillion. To put that in perspective, that's worth more than the GDP of Australia, Mexico, or even Switzerland. One family holds more wealth than entire nations. Under their role, Saudi Arabia went from an underdeveloped nation in the desert to a global superpower. but all of that power has to be spread thin among the 15,000 members of the royal family, right? Fast forward to 2022, and after a series of assassinations and arrests, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS, replaces his father as Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia. MBS didn't waste any time making full use of his powers as monarch, silencing journalists like Jamal Khashoggi, funding wars in Yemen, and buying whatever his heart desired, like a $450 billion Salvatore Mundi and a $500 million super yacht, for example. The sky was the limit, and anyone who wanted to get in his way would immediately face his wrath. Just like with the United States calling them a pariah and Saudi responding by cutting oil production, effectively kneecapping America. MBS believes direct action is the way to get his point across, but there are some rulers who prefer a more subtle approach to power. If $1.4 trillion sounds like a lot, there is someone who may have access to even greater amounts of wealth. Before the next chapter, if you find this video interesting, please consider subscribing to Unmasked Billionaire. We're working on huge projects which you don't want to miss. These videos take a lot of time and effort to make, so I really appreciate all your comments and support. Officially, Putin rents a modest 150,000 square foot apartment in Moscow, drives a Lada Niva, and earns a respectable $150,000 a year. Putin is just another pencil-pushing civil servant, or at least that's what the Kremlin says. According to Putin himself, I am the wealthiest man, not just in Europe, but in the world. I collect emotions. I am wealthy in that the people of Russia have twice entrusted me with the leadership of a great nation such as Russia. I believe that is my greatest wealth. While you're slaving away at your day job, Putin is using emotions to pay for the 700 sports cars and mansions that he allegedly owns. The idea of a humble civil servant might have been true back in the early 2000s when he first took office, but after more than a decade as the most powerful man in Russia, things change. From the first day he stepped into office, Putin has kept an extremely tight grip on Russian high society. He wasn't going to be as laid back as his predecessor, Boris Yeltsin, and let Russian oligarchs do whatever they wanted. Putin demanded complete obedience and a cut of the lucrative businesses that they ran off the backs of Russian society. These billionaires knew that Putin was serious, and they fell into line. This gave Putin easy access to every profitable industry in Europe, which netted him around $200 billion, according to the investor and political activist Bill Browder. In the event that anyone tries to speak out against his regime, they'd simply be accused of crimes like tax evasion and shipped off to Siberian labor camps. That is exactly what happened to Mikhail Khodorkovsky after he made the bold choice to accuse Putin of overlooking corruption on live TV back in 2003. Speaking up about how Putin operated isn't an option. However, that didn't stop a brave few from questioning how much money and power Putin has at his fingertips. Opulent properties like a $1.5 billion palace off the coast of the Black Sea and 4 different yachts have been linked to the Russian president, but he denies any connection to any of it. This has led many to theorize that he uses the people in his inner circle to acquire and hold these assets, allowing them to hold the properties in their names, so in the event that any bank accounts are frozen or properties seized, that there wouldn't be any way to trace it back to him. The true extent of Putin's wealth will always be shrouded in mystery, and no one except the man himself will ever know. The world of the ultra-wealthy is one draped in misdirection. The truly wealthy go to extreme lengths to hide their fortune from the angry masses. Everything they tell you is a lie to keep you ignorant of their grip on the world. Faceless corporations decide everything you eat, see, wear, or hear, while you slave away to serve their interests. If there were any truth in all of this, it would be that the world they built around you is an illusion, and it's completely your decision to either live with that or break free.